Hi, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are joining us from. And do tell us in the chat box where you are joining us from, because we've got a fantastic session lined up for you. And, we've all heard of this term called sonic branding, but, most of us have no clue what it is all about. And so I was very recently doing a little bit of digging and research, and I wrote a LinkedIn post about sound design. And then somebody, actually said that why don't you do a conversation with actually somebody who does design sound, especially if there is somebody who's doing this in India. And I just couldn't think of anyone. And then I said that, okay, there is one guy that I know, but I know him, in his previous avatar. He used to be the national director for on creative side for DDB. And but his bigger introduction is actually the fact that I think he is one of the finest jazz flute players. It's called flautist, right? And so the man himself is Rajeev Raja. Welcome, welcome, Rajeev. The word is
Hi.
flautist, right? Is that the right word?
Well, there's a bit of a controversy on that. So I think the British call it a flautist, but the Americans, in their typical style, they say, "Hey, you're just a flutist."
Okay. We will create our own version and call you the flute player and sound designer. So you're a soundsmith. So what does it mean? I mean, what is sonic branding? So how does it work? How do you create brand through sound? Because you can't see the logo. So then, how do you create a brand?
Right. So really, our journey began in this new avatar really around 10 years ago when we started BrandMusiq. And it's simply as what the word says. It's brands and music. So we understand the DNA of a brand, and we say that a brand is like a human being. And if you're able to understand the DNA of the brand, then you're
Right.
able to create a sound or a field of sound that can uniquely represent the brand. And just as every brand has a logo, we create a Mogo. So what is a Mogo? A Mogo is the short form for a musical logo, right? So it's as simple as that. And the whole approach is to look at sound in a strategic manner, in a much deeper manner. So it's not just about creating a jingle, but it is about understanding that there is a science to sound, and that certain scales, certain rhythms, certain harmonies can make you feel a certain way.
No, one sec, Rajiv.
Yeah.
Backtrack.
Okay.
I forgot to ask you the most important question, which is, have you or haven't you got your flute? Because if you haven't, please get up and go and get it.
I got it right here.
Okay, all right. So because I want you to demonstrate.
Yeah. Exactly. I was coming to that. So what I want you all to do, okay, all those who are listening and watching also, just close your eyes, and I'm going to play a short piece on my flute. And as I play, I just want you to go where the music takes you. You will probably see some imagery. It may trigger some emotions. You may feel some memories. And we can come back and have a chat about what you saw and felt.
And we can put those feelings down in the chat box. So,
Absolutely.
Do share with us what you experience, what you see, what you feel when you close your eyes and listen to the track that Rajiv is going to play. So let's get going. All right.
Okay, here goes. Eyes closed, please.
Ooh.
Okay.
It was beautiful. Hey, listen, I'm going to ask all the listeners who are there, if you have the chat box there, just write
Yeah.
down the kind of things that you experienced, what you saw, any imagery, and I'm going to, of course, after we see a couple of people respond to that, I'm going to tell you what was the imagery I saw, and which was really, for me, it was like, how would I say? It's the break of dawn. It's, new beginning, hope, joy. So it was really a lot like that. And I could see green fields, and it was like really a new beginning kind of a um, image in my head. Does that sound crazy, or is that what it's supposed to be? Um, Rajiv, your image has frozen. So, okay. So, Sachin Dev is our musical guy here. Sachin talks about the fact that you feels like I'm in a forest and chasing a beautiful bird full of colors. Oh my God! I mean, what a beautiful imagery. Sachin says, I'm in a forest chasing a beautiful bird full of colors. Anukriti says it was extremely soothing. I could imagine mountains and a sunset and grasslands. Abha Singhal Joshi says, gold and green image. Oh, wow. Okay, right. So while we wait for the others, is that normal? I mean, is this. What are we supposed to be seeing? Let's ask you that.
Yeah. I could have predicted this absolutely what people were going to see. Because wherever in the world we've played this and we've done this similar exercise, asking people to close their eyes, everybody sees greenery. They see mountains, they see mornings. Some people see peacocks. Feel like being a golden green image, feel like being in a forest, chasing a bird full of beautiful colors, very soothing.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. This is all the kind of imagery that comes from this, and there is a reason that everybody feels like this.
hmm.
It's not by accident, it's by design.
Hmm.
So this particular scale that I used is a very famous South Indian scale called Hamsadvani, a
Amsterdam.
rag called Hamsadvani.
Beautiful.
And this rag gets its particular character because it uses only 5 notes in the scale.
Hmm.
So it uses only these 5 notes. That's it. And this
Wow.
composition the piece that you heard is a composition of mine called Peace, and where I've used these 5 notes. And
Wow.
it is guaranteed anybody who hears this will feel very calm, will feel very peaceful, and they will also see greenery. And I can guarantee that nobody can see night when they hear this.
True. Actually,
You,
nobody mentioned night. We all talked
it's
about beginning, morning, dawn, all of that.
exactly. So this is where our journey began, and we said, there is a science to sound,
Hmm.
and we can actually create different moods in people and emotions by understanding the science of sound. So our Indian classical masters know it, which is why you have morning rags, afternoon rags, evening rags, right?
Right,
The
right.
Western classical masters also know it. If you listen to Vivaldi, Four Seasons, there is a composition called Spring. Now, when you
Yes.
hear Spring, you don't have to see any imagery. You will see Spring. Rag Basant. Yeah. So
Mm.
these are the connections that using certain scales can create certain moods and emotions. And this is where our journey in sonic branding began, where we said if we are able to understand these different moods and emotions that different pieces of music can create, then we are able to match it to the personality of brands. And we said,
When you say
yeah,
personality of brands means what?
yeah.
Give me an
So,
example.
yeah. So, brands basically, take any brand, take a Coca-Cola, take a Pepsi, right? Take all the brands that we know. They are actually they create certain feelings in people.
Hmm.
They create a certain imagery in people, right? And that is because subconsciously there is a feeling about that brand, that if you close your eyes and imagine if that brand were a person, what kind of person would it be,
Okay. The brand
right?
persona.
Exactly. So it's as simple as that. If we understand that, Abhijit, you are different from me, and we are different from each and everyone who is listening to this conversation, because we
Right.
have a particular DNA that
Mm.
is, comes from our legacy, comes from our conditioning, the school we went to, the world we grew up in, all of that, right? That
So
defines our personality.
how long? We have a request from various people who are saying once more. We are going to not let you go because we have plenty of things. Actually, Rajiv, I think you should actually do like a 1 hour performance for all our listeners. But I'm just intrigued because how long have you been doing this? How long has Sonic
Yeah, sonic branding.
branding been
And
around? And uh,
yeah, so sonic branding is really taken off in the last few years. And I think that's also because of the explosion of the digital media today, and how media is exploded. So brands need to also use the oral senses, right, the ear, to actually be able to make an impression on customers, because
Oh,
we know.
actually, I mean, I
Yeah,
I think voice and all of that is a relatively uncluttered space, because if you think of visual is just so cluttered, so because it's very
absolutely.
hard for a brand to stand out with that. But the audio branding process, sonic branding, as you call it, I mean, that's So I
Right.
was just thinking, I saw. You had you just completed 10 years of BrandMusiq, your company, and I
Right.
was just thinking that you actually had a kind of a some kind of a video, yeah. And I'm going to
Yes.
see, let me just see if I can figure, let me find that video and see if I can play that once again. There you go. Oh, wow. That was lovely. So you guys have been doing this for 10 years. I recognize so many of them. I recognize so many of them, whether it was
Yes, yes.
Mastercard or that, when I withdraw money from HDFC, the ATM
Bank at
makes
the
that sound. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
It
yeah,
always
yeah.
tells me that I'm now going to get rich.
Correct.
Or actually poor, the other way around. Or even, I love that Rag Desh, which you use for Tata
Yes,
Salt. That's another beautiful
yes.
one.
Right.
Santoor, of course, I'm familiar with. So quite a few of them. I mean, so it's not really that drastically unknown or anything of that sort, because clearly so many people are doing that. So I wanted to, ask you about the whole process. If somebody says that, okay, I've got a company, um, and I'm wondering whether I can create a, sonic brand for my company. Are there some companies, do you have to be a, let's say, a consumer goods company in order to do this, or can it be anyone who can have a sonic brand? You know, where can you have it and where can you not have it?
Right. Actually, I don't think there are any exceptions. Every brand, whether you're B2C or B2B, uh, a sonic brand thinking about, because actually every brand is using sound and music in some way or the other, whether
Mm,
it's for internal communication, whether it's videos that you're creating, whether
right.
if you're a digital brand, on your app, right, there are possibilities to use your sound. Now what most brands don't realize is that brands are consistent visually. Now every brand will have a logo, every brand will have a set of colors that go with that brand, and they also have a set of font styles, etc., and to reflect the character of the brand, right? And now if you look at a brand, it will be consistent across a visiting card, the way the logo appears. It will be consistent on a billboard or hoarding. It will be considered on a signage, shop signage, or even on a TV spot or on a print ad. Okay, but
Sure.
brands use sound now. They use sound maybe on their TV. They use it on their radio, but they also today use it on digital content. They use it on apps. They
Sure.
use it in their retail showrooms, right? But
Yep.
a lot of this sound is uncoordinated, and it doesn't reflect the sound of the brand. And we've just demonstrated that if you just change the piece of music I played for you, if
Yeah.
if I took the first three notes, right, and now I just change the third note, only the third note. Did you feel a little
Sad.
with a change of that one note? Now, this is the thing, that you need to have a consistent music across all what we call ear points, wherever your brand can be heard. You know,
Mm,
Oth- Otherwise, it's like having a friend who you call one day, and he speaks, hi, hi, Abhijit, how are you feeling?
mm.
Okay, that's my normal voice. And the next day you call me again, and I say, hi, Abhijit, how are you feeling? And the
Yeah,
third
that'll
day
be.
you call me and I say, yo, man, Abhijit, how are you feeling? Right? Now, this is how brands are using sound. They don't realize that it is actually impacting the coherence of their brand and the
Mm.
consistency of the brand, because sound can be also subconscious.
Sure. Sure.
So, you need to pick both the conscious and subconscious cue of the brand.
So we've got a question from a listener. Iman Najib says, "So, what do you
Yes.
think could be the sound of the company which is into application software development?" I think it would be a difficult one. That's the question. So, how would you answer that, Rajeev?
Yeah. So what I do is actually spend time with you. I presume you're the founder, or you could be the founder, right? So it's important to spend time with the founders, and it's not about the product. The product could be application software, right? But what is your brand? What are the feelings? What is your personality? What did you feel what did you want to do? Did you want to change the world? Did you want to transform somebody's life with this software? What is that feeling that you want to communicate about your brand? And that is where the music would come in. And then we'd say, put in filters like, say, okay, you are in the tech space. So can we create tech sounds to go along with that, etc., etc. So it is basically a process of understanding the feeling of your brand and not of the product only, right? So that way you're able to create a sound which then represents you. Do you want to come across as a fun brand? Do you want to come across as a high-tech brand? Do you want to what do you want to come across as? And that's it's as simple as finding that and then creating the sound to actually reflect that.
Okay. And I was just, when you were saying this, I was wondering, is the national anthem the sonic brand of a country? Would you say that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you just hear the first strains of our Indian national anthem, right, you don't need to hear the whole tune to recognize it, right? You immediately get goosepimples. You immediately want to stand to attention, right? Now, that is the power of sonic branding. And we say, therefore, we create something we call a Mogo, or a musical logo, short form for musical logo, right? So we say that the Mogo is the shortest distance between a brand and the consumer. Because in that 3 seconds of the Mogo, you can actually, it can trigger all your memories of the brand and make you feel about the brand.
Is that all it takes? I mean, 3 seconds of it?
3 seconds, absolutely. I mean, we've all heard Britannia, right?
Right.
Ding, ding, ding. How long do you think that is? That's 2.5 seconds. Yeah.
2.5 seconds.
Yeah. So we've done so many Mogos for so many brands. And when if you hear HDFC Bank's Mogo at the ATM, you'll immediately, it gives you a very good feeling, because as you said, we also timed it in a way that, as the cash comes out, the Mogo plays. So it's also associated with good memories and good feelings.
So you are the one who is doing all that stuff, huh? So
absolutely.
Rajeev, I'm just curious about another aspect of it, which is that so what if I pick any 3 note, tararam tam tam, and suppose I say, okay, from today this is my sonic brand. Can I do that? I mean, is that how it is, or I would be doing something wrong? I mean, how do I know that this is the right sound, or is there a process that you use, or how do you go about deciding what is it? Like, for example, the ringtones of various phones, they're incredibly different, and that itself, as soon as you hear it, Nokia, which was on my first phones, you can instantly hear that. And so somebody actually did talk about it, and various ways. So why is it that any 3? So there's a question from Shinjiri who says that can we install Mogos for the Teams calling sound?
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay. There you go. Rajeev,
absolutely.
That's the first customer you got today, right away. Yeah. So Shinjiri, you know what to do, so you can connect with Rajeev. But on a serious note, what is your process of deciding?
So since we are on Teams, right? Let me just talk about it as it's top of my mind. Now, what we would do is we would understand, now Teams is part of Microsoft, right? So we'd understand what the Microsoft brand stands for. And a very simple way for me to explain this is, if you do a comparison between, say, Apple and Microsoft, right? There is a clear personality difference.
Sure.
Okay. Apple is more innovative. It's a little more I wouldn't say more innovative than Microsoft, but it's projected as a little more of a rebel. It breaks the norm. There's a lot of fun associated with Apple, etc., etc. But Microsoft is much more business-like, right? It is
Cerebral.
cerebral. It's a little more serious, right? So if one were creating the sound for Microsoft Teams, then you couldn't create a sound which would be like a humorous kind of sound, or an
Sure.
absolutely rebellious, totally edgy kind of sound. You'd have to create a more business kind of sound, which fits in with the Microsoft brand, right? So, for example, now I'm saying if you do something like may not work for Microsoft,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I can see that.
But
Sure.
something like might work better. And there's a
I get it.
little bit of seriousness about it, a little bit of corporate feeling. So, therefore, it's all about understanding, what the brand stands for really, and then translating that into sound. Because we know that brands, as I earlier said, like human beings. So, if a brand is a caregiver brand, now
Give
let's
me an
take,
example of a brand that you've actually worked with, and I thought if you take Mastercard or something like that, which a lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
us
yeah, absolutely.
use. A credit card is a very commonplace. So
Right.
how
Yeah,
do you sort of create a sound for something like that, and how would you sort of describe that? Talk to me
no,
about
absolutely.
the
Yeah.
process.
So, when we studied the Mastercard brand and looked at its character, its personality, now Mastercard has always built its brand on priceless moments,
Hmm.
right? So they've always been creating priceless moments for their customers. So there's a certain magical nature about priceless moments. It's a very magical kind of thing that happens. They have priceless music concerts, or they have priceless dining experiences, or in their cities they have priceless surprises. So suddenly if you're a Mastercard user, the doorbell might ring, and Justin Bieber is standing outside and he sings you a birthday song, for
Okay.
example. Right. So it's built around the premise of priceless moments, magical moments. So
Right.
being a magical kind of sound is therefore something you start thinking of, right? The
Right.
second aspect that they were a very they said, look, we are a credit card category. That means Aam Aadmi, in the sense that everybody is is a user, right? Is a potential user. So
Sure.
therefore, when you're composing the music, these two elements you've already started thinking of: magical, and the fact that everybody
Come.
should be able to hum it. It's a very simple melody that we need, because you're looking across the globe, really, across 190 countries. We had to create it. The second question we ask is, what is the key emotion or rasa that you want to communicate,
Rasa,
right?
as in the
I,
rags, Veer Ras,
yeah,
Karanya Ras, all that. Yeah, all of that. The
exactly. Our Indian
nine
rasas,
nine flavors. Yeah.
the nine
Okay.
flavors, the nine rasas,
Nine emotions.
or
Yeah.
nine key emotions of Indian artistic expression. So they range
Correct.
from Sringara, which is love, to Karuna, which is caring or
Vatsalya, which is
compassion.
for
Yeah, Veera.
caregiving.
So
Veera.
what does the brand want to communicate? Now, Mastercard wanted to communicate a spirit of optimism and a
Right.
spirit of joy, right? Because at the end of it, magical moments are about joy, but the brand was also very upbeat, positive about the future, etc. So when we took all of this, now if, for example, you listen to a Walt Disney movie, and if you listen to the soundtrack, you will see that historically there have been certain instruments which are used to create a magical kind of feeling in people, right?
Hmm.
And all our ears are conditioned to understanding that. So the minute you hear say, oh, that's a magical sound. Reminds me of my musical box when I was a child.
Child.
You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the use of chimes, use all that. So it's a very subconscious feeling, but we already understand it. So these are the guidelines that we use. If you look at the history of Hollywood, Bollywood, how they use sound to actually communicate certain characters. So if the hero comes on the screen, you will hear da 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 dum da 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 dum da 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 dum da da da. Right? That's heroic.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
But if
Yep.
it's a very caring moment between mother and child, the sound that you'll probably hear is you know. So once we understand what the brand wants to express in terms of emotion, then we're
Yeah.
able to use the correct instruments, the correct tempos, the correct scales to put it all together for the sound of the brand.
Which in some sense is the answer to the question that I asked. That it's not as if I sing da 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 da. That cannot become my sound because there is
Right.
the tempo, there is the instrument, there is the beat, there is the rasa, there is all of that. I mean, so it's a fairly complex combination. It's not about picking some three random sounds and
Correct.
sort of adding that together. So very clearly that can't work. But Rajiv, one of the things I just want to sort of say that you know. Today
Yeah.
I'm going to, I know that you had you have released a CD also at some point of time in your life,
Yes.
and I have really enjoyed your jazz flute playing, and
Yes.
I am not going to let you go until you played a piece today for us. So I'm just keeping you posted that expect
Okay.
to see this, guys.
Sure.
If
Sure.
you think that you want to sort of you want to hear Rajiv play one of the jazz pieces, so just put that comment in the chat box and let me know if there is a jazz piece that you want, and which since we have Rajiv on camera, he cannot disappear without playing that. So we are going to hold him to that. So you can certainly do that. And I'm going to tell you that you got to play my favorite things. There's a song from Sound of Music. So that's my request for you. But we will come to that.
Sure.
Back
Sure.
to this
Sure.
whole question. When you're looking at this whole process of creating a sound, does this um, do certain instruments, do they appeal more for a consumer brand, let us say, as compared to a B2B brand? Or no, it doesn't work like that. What do you say?
Yeah. I think again, depends on how you define your brand and the impression that you want to leave. So it doesn't matter whether you're B2B or whether you're a consumer facing brand. It really doesn't matter. But because just the change of an instrument can create a different kind of impression. So depending on what sonic impression we want to create, we use those instruments that actually convey that kind of impression.
When you are
Right.
talking about Mastercard being, this whole thing about joy, and you were also talking about this whole thing of being commonplace. I'm reminded of, something that the late composer S.D. Burman used to do. He would actually, create a piece and then ask his driver to, see if he could hum it after listening to it once or twice, and then he would say that, okay, this is really going to have mass appeal. So for some of the songs that he created, uh,
Right.
not all of them were necessarily mass appeal, but the ones that he did, many of them were the ones that he used to sort of try it out. And he said that, this guy is my box office proxy. He would sort of let me know if the song is going to work or not. Do you also
Right.
try out something like that with people? And you've been in
Yeah.
advertising for a long time, so
No, what we do is once we create many options, and we have a workshop with our clients where we actually share the pieces of music based on what their brand stands for, and actually get them to respond just like I played this piece of flute now, and everybody responded, right? So now imagine if I were to take this piece of music, and let me put this question to all of y'all. Okay,
Mm.
I'm
Mhm.
I'm just to remind you, I'm playing a little bit of the music again. Okay, now if you were to use this music for a brand, what kind of brand would it be?
Right. So, it's something which would have yeah, something smooth, something very pleasant, something which has hope built into it as a, so
Yes, yes.
yeah.
Uh,
So,
perhaps a wellness brand. Perhaps a wellness brand.
yeah, yeah, wellness brand. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
something which could be for even something for a hospital where, when you're going there, you want to get
Soothing.
cured, you
Yeah,
want hope. So I
correct.
would pray for, any of those kind of things. So,
So
uh,
yeah, so that's the point. So for example, since a lot of people said forest and greenery, etc., it could all,
Ayurveda.
yeah, Ayurveda, exactly. It
Yeah.
could stand for an Ayurveda brand. It could stand for a herbal brand. This music could work for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Sachin,
sparkling water.
Sachin Dev
Yeah.
says sparkling water. Yes, absolutely.
Exactly. Exactly. Because you're getting a feeling of purity when you're hearing this, right? Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah. So now you wouldn't say environment related. Yeah, exactly. So you wouldn't say, oh, this will work perfectly for Harley
A sports
Davidson.
brand.
Yeah, Harley Davidson. Or
No, it would.
Bullet. Or Bullet the motorbike. You'd never say that, right? But if I were to create something for Bullet, of a motorbike, macho, tough kind of brand, then you're talking of creating sound like. You know what I mean? Rough,
Yes, of
tough.
course. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Now,
yeah.
now, so when music is thought out, and it's not just putting it to a brand feeling, and you're creating, what the brand should sound like. That is what sonic branding is really all about. Getting
Gosh,
to the essence of the brand.
I've never thought so deeply about, how much of the sound. And now that you're saying it, I remember reading the Netflix sound brand, which is there. It's called a Tadam, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
the
yeah, 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 yeah.
when you look at that. And I believe they sort of worked on it for a very, very long time. And how many hundreds of them were rejected before they came up with something. And
Right,
it just seems like, yeah, I mean, that just makes sense. It's somewhere, I think, when the sound is right, as you are saying, it just gives you an instant feeling that, yes, this is the right sound. I may not be able to explain it the way you did, that, it's because of
right,
the mood, the whatever. So I, as a lay person, will always say, yeah, that about sounds right. And like, the way you were saying, you
right.
wouldn't play the Hansadhwani track for, let's say, Harley Davidson or a Nike. You wouldn't. But you could
Exactly.
potentially play it for a meditation app, for example.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's the, um, yeah. I think the opportunity to sort of look at that. Does it also work with? Does it work with? Somebody said that if you have like a team, and not Microsoft Teams, but you have your own team. Yeah, I think Shinjini asked this question earlier, which
Yeah,
was that could you create a track which is specifically something that plays as soon as the team call begins?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. But
and
so that it's not just random, and that it represents something about you, it's important to just think about what you stand for, and the feeling that you want to leave behind. Is it a
Yeah.
happy feeling? Is it an announcement that the meeting is starting? What is the kind of sound that you want to have? What is the purpose of the sound?
Which could be that you could choose and say, okay, everybody needs to be on high alert, or are you trying to say everybody needs to feel psychologically safe and
Yeah,
share your ideas regardless? Yeah.
exactly.
Have I got
So
that right?
absolutely right. So in essence, there is nothing as powerful as music to convey an emotional idea, an
Hmm.
emotional idea.
So there is a question here from Anukriti
Yeah.
who says, do you think that old companies should change their mogos, or should they keep using the same one for years? I presume with the idea of building that identity and continuity. What is your take on that?
It's a very good question, uh, because you know music has one strange thing about it. It changes. The musical tastes of my father's generation were different to the
Mhm.
musical tastes of my generation, and is different to the musical tastes of my daughter's generation, right? So it's a very good question, but uh, when we create a Mogo, we create it with a certain timelessness in mind,
Mhm.
which is why it takes so much time and so much thinking and so much research, because we are saying, look, your brand is timeless, your logo is also timeless, your logo endures,
Sure.
but at certain stages in your brand's lifespan, you may want to upgrade your logo, you may want
True.
to just contemporize it, and ideally the Mogo should be exactly the same. That, for example, in the 1960s, say Ravi Shankar's sitar sound is very different to Niladri Kumar's sitar sound,
True.
which is a modern contemporary, especially the when he electrifies his sitar. You know.
Yes.
So, for example, now imagine a company had a Mogo with Ravi Shankar sitar. Let's imagine, right, with that kind of sound. But in today's day and age, the customer is feeding back saying, "Hey, that's giving me an old feeling. It's giving me a dated feeling." It then, instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, what
Hmm.
we would recommend, if of course the Mogo has a strength, has a certain potential for that timelessness, then we would recommend, look, don't change the essential notes of the Mogo, but maybe
Hmm.
change the instrument,
Give me an
right?
example of that.
Yeah.
A place where you would have changed that.
It's as subtle as HDFC Bank, for example.
Hmm.
We started the journey with HDFC Bank about 5 years ago,
Okay.
where they said that yeah, Zitar, somebody's mentioned that is what Niladri's sitar is called, the electrified, yeah,
Yes.
Zitar. Now with HDFC Bank, for example, we started off about 5 to 7 years back. 6 years back was when we created the sonic identity for them, and they said, look, we have to be contemporary Indian in our sound because we are a contemporary Indian bank, right? Therefore, the sound of, say, a Ravi Shankar kind of sitar was sounding more like yesterday's India. It was like
Okay.
traditional, very traditional,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
But say Niladri Kumar's Zitar gave that right touch of Indianness, but also the balance of contemporariness,
Ah,
right?
get it.
Now, 5 years later, HDFC Bank came back to us and said, we want to appeal more to the millennial generation because of the fact that nobody goes to the bank. Only our generation used to go to the bank. Youngsters don't go to the bank, so they don't meet anybody from the bank.
True.
So how do we, with our sound, communicate to them, hey, we're your bank, we are your brand, So therefore, we contemporized even the HDFC Bank Mogo by creating a more electronic kind of sound without letting go of the Indian traditional, roots also. So
Wow.
it's a question of constantly monitoring and just moving it in degrees to reflect the changing musical tastes of the generation.
So I have a follow up question, which is not follow up really. You explained that the same bank, HDFC Bank, 5 years back, and then now wants to appeal to a different kind of customer. So they're keeping the notes the same, the instrument changes and sort of gives that contemporary
Right,
feel.
right.
What happens if it is, let's say, like a, I don't know, Mastercard or something, where you would have Mastercard in India could be different from, let's say, Mastercard in
Yeah.
the Emirates, or it would be different from. So, would you use something like, say, jazz somewhere and reggae somewhere, or would you do something like that? I mean, because
Yes.
in my head, it's the kind of sound that you have, which is specific to a country. Is that how you would change it?
Yeah. So with Mastercard, what we did was actually we created a master sound,
Okay.
which would be there for all master communication, right?
Okay.
All their major
The Mastercard for master sounds, master communication.
master
Okay, get
communication.
it.
Right.
All right.
So for there is certain communication that is global, that runs in
Right.
every country,
Right.
right?
Right. Yes.
Now there may be occasions on festivals, on festive occasions, etc., where you want to reach out to the culture a little more. So if you're in the Middle East during Ramadan, can you create those kind of sounds? In India during Diwali, can we do
Is it a
something?
totally different sound altogether, or
No, the sound is different, but the notes will remain the same, right?
do you do
I
you,
think
do you have an
best way,
example?
yeah, the best way I can do it is maybe play you something.
Okay.
Just tell me if you can hear this. So let's hear the a bit of the Mastercard master sound. Okay, what we call the Mogo scape. Okay, I'm just going to
Moguls.
play a little bit of it. Yeah,
Okay.
here goes.
Can you increase the sound a little bit?
Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Oh,
now
lovely.
this was the Mogo scape, which is like the master sound. It's about 90 seconds long,
Okay.
but you would have heard a very simple melody, ta-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra, ta-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra, right?
Yep. Yep.
Now, the instruments used was a mixture of violin, magical sounds, piano, and also an upbeat beat for the optimism. But the whole keeping the feel of the brand. Now let's have a listen to the Mogo, or the 3-second musical logo. Okay, you already heard it in the Mogo scape, but I'll play it again now. This is the Mogo.
Ah.
Three,
Okay. Yes.
3 seconds. Okay, so you'd hear it again now.
Yep.
And we also created a mini Mogo for
Uh-huh.
their transaction sounds. When they swipe the card and the transaction goes through, we created a mini Mogo, and the mini Mogo is 1.5 seconds, and we had to create a special tone for the smaller speakers. So this is the mini Mogo.
Wow.
I'll play it again. Right? Now, these are the three elements really of the Mastercard sonic identity system. And all of these come together at various places. So, for example, on Alexa, once the transaction goes through, you'll hear the mini Mogo. Now, at the end of a TV spot, you'll hear the Mogo. The Mogo will appear. And the Mogo scape, which is the master sound, actually defines how you take it and create different moods. So, for example, we were talking of regions, right? Now you spoke of the Middle East. Now remember the basic melody. Ta-ra-ra-ra-ra-da, ta-ra-ra-ra-ra-da. Now we want to communicate that in Middle East for a festive occasion or something like that. So here's how it would sound. Got the feeling? Now let's move to Latin America. Okay, with salsa and samba.
Okay.
And now let's move to India. But maybe I want to create a playful kind of feeling in one of my communications. How would I use the same melody to create the playful feeling? Or for the younger generation, how about an EDM version? Or for mother and child, how about emotional? Or for the European League and for EPL, they're sponsors of, how about a football anthem? Or, roping in celebrities, such as this is Camila Cabello, and she's doing her version of our Mastercard of the melody we created. So just have a listen to her.
Hey guys, it's Camila. I'm so excited to be a part of the Mastercard family. It was so fun creating my version of Mastercard's Sonic brand. I'll see you guys at the Grammys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so now imagine on Alexa, this is the sound you'd hear.
Order red acrylic paint. Your order has been placed.
Yeah, so this is just to give you a snapshot. I rushed through it, but
it's just absolutely incredible. We are coming towards the end, so I'm not going to let you go without playing a track.
Sure.
I just had a quick question that, I just actually asked Rajeev to create a small little sort of piece for me. And I'm going to play this. In case you didn't notice, this is what I played right in the beginning. I'm going to play this for you again.
That's your Mogo.
So this is, guys, I mean, this is Rajeev's genius. He created something for me. And, so is it common for people to have a Mogo for an individual, or is,
So you have the distinction of being the first person to own first individual to own a Mogo, right?
That's a polite word for a guinea pig, clearly.
But we believe the potential is huge for personal branding, And Abhijit, we went through the similar process that we spoke about, right? We understood that you had a lot of explorer in you, and therefore it had to be a sense of discovery. But more importantly, transformation was your key attribute. And
the work that I do,
the work that you do, it's really all the conversations that you're having, you're transforming something in people's minds.
Sure.
at the same time, we were also cognizant of the fact that you are on social media, it's a digital world, etc. That's why we use those particular digital sounds.
Yep.
Tung, tung, tung. But there's also a feeling of all your conversations are very chatty, informal. There's a lot of fun, associated with your brand, and therefore we
Right.
had to create that fun, cool, kind of modern, kind of feeling.
Okay, Rajeev, I just have to ask you to play, a piece, a jazz piece, which is just so incredible. I cannot
Sure,
let you go.
sure,
It's
sure.
absolutely my favorite. And guys, I kind of think that. So I'm getting a lot of comments about what people think about the Sonic brand that. You've got, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that,
Wow,
look at
wow,
that.
wow.
Look at the kind of comments you've got. Yeah. Look at Rajiv. This is really, look at the comments. Look at the number of comments we've got.
Childlike curiosity attached to your brand. Wow. Please play again, Abhijit Mogo.
Please play again. Okay.
Abhijit
So
Mogo.
okay, let's do. Oh gosh, I mean, I hope you
Awesome.
like it. I mean, it's just okay. So Nitish, I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, there you go. Naina says modern, yeah, kind of feeling. How cool is that? Love the Mogo. And Sachin is a musician, by the way, and he thinks it's so cool. So thank you very much, Rajiv. Without any further ado, can I request you to play my favorite things, the jazz version, where you can
Sure.
recognize the sound but not recognize the sound, and that magic that you create. I just have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
listen
yeah.
to that.
So this is, from the Sound of Music, and I think a lot of us have grown up hearing it. So raindrops and roses and whiskers on kittens. That was the original. But jazz musicians always like to put a twist to things.
Yeah,
So
so I'm going to put you on solo layout and I'm going to mute myself. So guys, enjoy the treat. This is all yours.
okay, here goes. Let me add a touch of Indianness now. Okay.
Gosh, beautiful. Gosh, Rajiv, you're just so gifted. I mean, you're such a fabulous musician. I'm just so privileged to have you here. No, I remember, and we have Naina, who mentions the fact that she says, you took me to the amazing HR offsite Rajeev did for us in Goa when I was working at Wipro. Thank you for this great conversation too. So, yeah, and it's just really, thank you so much. It was incredible. I
Thank
cannot
you.
say how
Same
much
here.
I've enjoyed the conversation. And Rajeev, that Mogo that you created for me is going to be part of every Dreamers and Unicorns show, the signature tune. And
Yeah.
I'm going to use it in, I do a lot of work on this audio app called Mensa. I'm going to use that at the beginning of the audio app as well. I'm going to create that sonic
Wonderful.
identity.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
And thank you so very much. It was so much fun to have you
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
everyone.
Abhijit.
Thank you so much, everybody, listeners. All the comments and all the appreciation. Thank you so much. And Rajeev, how do people connect with you? And, what is the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so my email is very simple, rajeev@brandmusic.com.
Rajeev spelled with
RAJEE.
the J-E-E. Rajeev
EE.
spelled with the
Yeah. Yeah. And brand music spelled with a Q. Brand music spelled with a Q.
Ends with a Q. Okay.
Yeah, music with a
Brand
Q.
Music.
Brand music, yes.
Okay. Rajeev@brandmusic.com. Fantastic.
But otherwise, always I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. So LinkedIn is best. I mean, you can just reach out there. And
completely.
Yeah.
And, I hope we are going to sort of, I think it would be great to have you back once again, just to play music, just for us with no conversation,
Yeah.
just music.
We'll just have a music jam. Absolutely. Done.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you came. It was so much
Thank you.
fun. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.